Leonard Benedetto.
Good afternoon, or yeah, it's still good morning, I guess. Good morning, members of the Judiciary Committee. My name is Leonard Benedetto. I am a resident of Stratford. I'm also the Vice President of the Connecticut Citizens Defense League. We are the largest grassroots pro-2A organization in Connecticut with over 1,300 members to date. I'm testifying in opposition to raise Bill 1094. You all have my testimony, but I'm going to do just a little verbalizing in advance that there's a lot of ways that I could have went with my testimony. My testimony could have mentioned about what it's going to cost Connecticut to put this bill through, the jobs it could potentially cost. My testimony actually takes the role of, I'm just a gun owner in Connecticut, and I think that's the one that is the most, one that worries me the most. If this bill were to pass, thousands upon thousands of law-abiding gun owners in this state will have to begin surrendering their magazines by July or face confiscation by the state police and a felony charge. How could you, our elected officials, even consider a bill that would potentially turn law-abiding citizens into felons? During the 1994 assault weapon ban, the production of higher capacity magazines was stopped. Under that law, at no time did I become a felon for my ownership of higher capacity magazines. I am a law-abiding gun owner with no criminal record, yet this bill is trying to turn me into a criminal. Nowhere in this bill do I see where the state is going to compensate me or anyone else for our property, an act that I consider theft and criminal in itself. At least when the state confiscates property in eminent domain issues, a so-called fair market value is assigned to the property. Not so here. The money needed to implement such a confiscation will be nothing more than another drain on the honest taxpayer. The state is in enough financial trouble as it is. I truly believe the bill is nothing more than a knee-jerk reaction to a terrible incident in Tucson, Arizona. If the criminally insane shooter in that incident had chosen to use 10-round magazines instead of the larger capacity magazines, we may not be here discussing this raised bill at all, or the bill may have been written to say no more than 5 rounds in a magazine. This bill, the true problem here is that our legislature is raising bills and proposed laws that will supposedly stop criminals, but the criminals do not follow the laws. The law-abiding citizen is being punished here. Just because the manufacturer of my handgun picked the number 13 for the amount of rounds that my magazine holds, now I will become a criminal for owning these magazines unless I turn them in. As for the criminal, I'm sure their magazines will not be turned in. Just because the state of Connecticut will no longer allow the manufacture and ownership of these higher capacity magazines does not mean that any criminal that desires one will not be able to get one. Again, I say criminals do not follow laws. And in closing, I just ask you all to please vote no on 1094. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your questions. Senator Kissel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
I was expecting you, Senator. Thank you.
No, I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if the Chairman Coleman thinks that's good or bad either. He has no opinion. That's good. I'm just wondering how big your organization is, and since the Cheshire Home invasion, have you seen sort of a heightened sensitivity to?
We started our organization about 2 years ago, when about a group of 6 of us got together and decided that we really had to do something to help protect our Second Amendment rights. From that 6, we have grown to 1,300 in a little less than 2 years, a little more than 2 years, I'm sorry, a little more than 2 years. As of 2 weeks ago, though, we had 1,100 members when I was up here testifying on other gun bills, when I was testifying in front of the other committee, the Public Safety Committee. Within that time frame, we've had 200 new members sign up because of what's going on up here, and everybody's seen these gun bills. People are signing up left and right. They want to be involved. They want to be notified. They want to know what's going on up here in Hartford. Okay. So, I mean, I think it's a good thing because people are looking up here and saying, what's going on? We need to protect our rights, and they're getting involved, which is a great thing.
Well, but believe me, I know I've received emails, and you know, I've always had very.
All of you received mine, I'm sure.
Yeah. But sometimes I wonder because, you know, usually on these issues, I think folks know where I am on Second Amendment rights.
Well, the whole committee gets emailed, though.
I gotcha. Yeah. But I think a more important message for my colleagues and maybe the ones that aren't here, that are maybe in other committee meetings or eventually at 2 in the morning like I do sometimes. If you can't sleep, you're put on the CT network, is that since Cheshire in particular in Connecticut, and for whatever reason, over the last several years, 4 years or so, there is a greatly heightened sensitivity to Second Amendment issues by
really
the
is.
law-abiding public who maybe never thought about going out and buying firearms or taking gun courses or teaching their children Eddie Eagle or all of these other things that are out there. And all of a sudden, Connecticut's a different state. And while in many respects it's bluer than blue and it's very liberal, and some of those things can make me concerned in some respects as to where we're going, it seems to me that in this respect we've taken a different turn. Maybe not all across the board, but certainly folks that never really paid attention to this issue come up and talk to me about it all the time now. It's part of it is unfair, because when murders take place in urban areas or other areas, or there's horrific crimes that you just wake up and you read the paper, listen to the radio, watch the news, they're out there. But something with the Pettit case hit a chord. And I haven't figured out what it was, but it hit a chord throughout this state. And I think we're still very sensitive to these issues because of it.
I agree with you about it hitting a chord, and I really believe it's due to the fact that it happened in a bedroom, quote-unquote, bedroom community, where people tend to try to move to be safer, because the inner cities, unfortunately, aren't the safest place to live. They get their families out into suburbia and into bedroom communities, and they feel that that distance from the city allows them a little bit more protection and a little more safety. Unfortunately, when cases like the Pettit case happen, it's shown that it's just not true, that is actually a prime location for a crime like that. And I think it's due to the amount of people in the general vicinity. If somebody attacks a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere in rural Connecticut, essentially it could be days before anybody drives down that mile-long driveway to the actual farmhouse. That isolationism really isn't the best way to stop an attacker from attacking you for that amount of time. Like in the Pettit case, it was horrible. They were in that house for a very long time. They took a ride to an ATM. It's just insane that could actually happen. And like I said, in a bedroom community where you feel you're getting your family to a safer place, your kids to better schools, and then you're attacked like that, and it's brutal. And people did take notice to it. And also, one of the gentlemen that was up here doing some discussing about the ammo disappearing off the shelves. That was, I believe, truly due to the fact of our last presidential election, where everybody assumed that the entire United States is now going to be anti-gun, anti-Second Amendment, and ammunition started literally flying off the shelves. Everybody is stockpiled who has a gun, because they know that if they want to even go target shooting, they might not be able to get that ammunition in the future. So they want to make sure they have it now.
Well, I think it's an interesting irony that during that same period of time, for the first time, the United States Supreme Court came down on this issue, and they actually created a ruling that's very much protective of Second Amendment rights.
Yes, they absolutely did.
And so the country is moving in a lot of different directions, and I appreciate your insights regarding these proposals.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome, Senator. Representative O'Neill.
I believe you indicated that you're the vice president of an organization.
The Connecticut Citizens Defense League, yes.
Okay. Are there members, and you've grown quite a bit, I guess you said 1,300 and
Yeah,
a couple
2
of
years.
hundred in the last couple of weeks or month or so. Sometimes I hear from people who belong to an organization such as the NRA who will say, well, I don't really agree with the official position of the leadership or something like that. Are you aware of any members of your organization who support this bill?
I would be very shocked if anybody who signed up to be a member of our organization supported this bill in any way whatsoever.
But you've never had someone say, you know, Jeff,
Never.
I really, okay.
Not once, Representative. No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.